Azadeh Nikzadeh is an Iranian-born writer, director, and producer whose works amplify unheard voices, particularly those of Iranian women. Through storytelling, she addresses human rights and women's empowerment, challenging cultural and political oppression. Azadeh's recent project, The Deviants, Prelude, has gained attention for its unique narrative blending Persian and American cultures. Azadeh, thank you so much for joining us today. Storytelling has always been a powerful meaning of expression for resistance. In your work, how do you use film and storytelling to challenge oppression, and how do you hope your stories inspire and stand up for freedom?
Yes. Thank you so much first. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to talk about that. I want to talk about art as art of design and defiance and art as a and creativity that fuels the fight for freedom in Iran. I think it's becoming more and more important um, in the fight for Iranians. And it's something that I personally felt and lived deeply as as an Iranian artist. So for me, art is this incredible weapon against oppression. And I grew up in Iran, and I know that life can be suffocating, especially for women. You know, for those of your audience who might not know, women in Iran, we're told what to wear, what we can do, what we cannot do. But here's the thing: the people in Iran, they just don't sit back and take it. So in our country, in our society right now, defiance happens in two forms. One shows up like in a small personal way, and the other one is in a big collective way. And art, has become this thread that ties them together. Like imagine, like I was a kid in the 80s, and for anyone who knows, 80s is probably the darkest, roughest time in the recent history of Iran. There was war that was raging, and then the regime was cracking down hard on dissident and opponents. And for women, it was even worse, to the point that I can tell you that women were not even allowed to play musical instruments. But and I remember that, like, if, for example, you were carrying a musical instrument like a guitar down the street, you could get punished for that. Uh, but I also remember that women taking this risk, tiny risk, carrying the musical instrument, keep going to classes, and tiny things like that. They push the limits a little by little every day, and over time, we arrive to this situation that playing a musical instrument is not a shock for women. And right now, what we have is like singing, women singing in public, women having concerts. It's right now off the limits. And, and we have these fearless women that say, no way, I'm doing it anyway. They remove their mandatory scarf, and they wear whatever they want, and they even like performing concerts and knowing that they get arrested. But the important thing is that their courage of standing up for what they believe lights a fire in others. And that is what I love about art. It starts with one person being brave, and then it spreads. Like even if it's a musician that plays, or as when they're not supposed to, or like a writer writing something, or these things becomes like ripples, and eventually the ripples turn into a wave of change. And that's what I've seen, like in Iran. When I was in Iran, I've seen it, and I deeply believe in it. And then we have, it's something that happens inside Iran as we're talking. It's been like when I was there in the 80s and 90s, and now here in the USA. And it's like as a diaspora right now, all of us. when I came here, it was like it hit me that I had freedom because like I grew up under censorship, under severe control, and like lack of information, to be honest. And then when I came here, it was like, wow, that wow moment, that like, oh wow, I'm free, I have freedom. And then with freedom, especially as an artist, comes responsibility. Um, so it's because it's so personal for me because I lived it. It's kind of like a duty for me to shine a light on what Iranian women are fighting for. And for me, that's through art. And art for me is art of storytelling in general, and also through films, and also through connecting to my Persian roots. I think that's something that also is cracked down by the Iranian regime. Like they want us to forget who we truly are. And I've seen it. You mentioned the Deviants Prelude. It's a short film. It's a musical and a dance piece that connects like Persian and American, Armenian dance styles, and using dance as a symbol, as a symbolic tool to fight oppression and pushing back against like oppressors. And these women, they connect together, and through like I call it collective hoofbeats or collective stomping, they open ways toward freedom and toward like a beautiful revolution that brings freedom to them in my film. And it's kind of like something that I experienced, that collective change, that collective ripple, and also something that I truly hope happens very soon in Iran. And something that was very powerful to see. We pictured like a few days ago. It was just a few days ago, and something that blew me away was how my American audiences they get it. It comes from Iran. It comes from a place that, far from them, and the dances and the movement, it might be something that they're not familiar with, but they were able to connect to the message, to the story, to the women. So I think that's also another beautiful aspect of art, because it's, I tell, this is like my story, or I'm telling those women's stories. And we turn these stories into something that is human, something that anyone can feel. And it is how, we can build bridges, and we can open hearts, we can open minds, no matter where we're from. And I think that's something, that's how art, storytelling, films can work. And
You
thank you.
know, as a day, I even remember when I first met you, when I first had the honor, we sat down and we got coffee, and you sent me a short film that you worked on. And through this film, it was maybe what, like 5 or 6 minutes long. You told such an intense and important story, and you showed me a side of Iran that I didn't even know. You showed me the type of pain that the women in Iran are going through. And through that, I've shared that story with so many people. There's so many people in the world who don't know what the women in Iran are going through. They don't know that for some of them, their only option for making money is this type of kind of a form of prostitution. And it's another side of the oppression by the regime on the Iranian woman. And it's so important to shed light on that. It's so important to share those stories because the women within Iran can't do it for themselves. So you're really, what you're doing is so incredible. You're really a voice for these women. And you, similar to me, the fact that I survived, I felt like I needed to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. You're doing the same. The fact that you managed to get out and you now have these freedoms, you're using your freedom to be a voice for those women in Iran who don't currently have a voice. And it's really amazing what you're doing. And thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all of this with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate that, and it's kind of it's heartwarming for me to talk to someone like you, because you understand our pain. Really, like sometimes Americans, they know the word oppression, they know the word apartheid or gender-based apartheid, but they don't have any image. They've never experienced that. And so I have to like really, when I talk to them and mention these words, I have to like bring examples. Or when
Mhm.
we talk about gender-based apartheid, it means that there are laws in place that prevents you from doing certain things. For example, I always bring the like work situation. If you apply for a job in Iran, regardless of your resume, regardless of your experience and education, there are laws in place that tells mandates the recruiters to hire men, not women. So a man can get a job with a diploma, and a woman cannot get a job with a PhD. So that's the difference. So that makes it like, so you're always losing to a man, and that's what happens. And I have to say that because they don't really understand, and I think like these sort of
Yeah.
films showing through storytelling, through something that is so tangible for them,
Mhm.
hopefully they are able to understand. And generally people are very good. They want to connect, they want to help, they want to support, they just don't know. That's why I like continue doing that and like try to connect to my American audiences. I'd like really like to tell the stories that comes from Iran, but targets American audiences. And it's
Mhm.
been something like it's not easy, to be honest. It's been something that I'm working on, like finding that language, how to tell the storytelling that's so specific but also so universal. And hopefully with the Deviants is a project for me that's like, okay, maybe that's it. And I have high hopes for it. And thank you for mentioning it.